Good morning. So, what's happening? It's another blistery winter day here in Reno, Nevada. Just chilling, just checking it out. I spent a couple of days kind of spacing out, not really doing much productive. I spent a little time modeling in Blender yesterday, and I'm having some issues with some caustic noise, and I think I figured out why. I made this cool little model picture of it's just like some abstract stuff. But I used a lot of different light sources, and I used a lot of reflective materials because I thought that would be cool. And it would be cool. The problem is, I'm realizing that it's incredibly intensive on a processor to process so many different streams of light. So the Cycles render engine. So let me talk a little bit about what I'm doing in Blender. So Blender is a 3D modeling software, and it's free. So for anyone who is interested in any video editing, video creation, logo editing, logo creation, I created a lot of the imagery and a lot of the video stuff. In fact, almost all the video stuff exclusively that I do is in Blender. I do actually also use a program called, ScreenFlow? I think. It's just a screen capture software. But regardless, Blender has been my main video production and animation workspace for the last, I guess, month. Anyway, so Blender is really, really cool because it's really powerful. And the Cycles render engine, which is fairly new to Blender because, so essentially, if I understand this correctly, and this is from a very elementary understanding of the way that this works, in order to have things look the way they look, and this comes from video games or 3D modeling or anything, you need to have some kind of engine that can process light and reflections and materials as well. And the way that light bounces off opaque materials and passes through transparent ones. And then also the way that it refracts all over, right? So the way that it calculates this, and depending on the engine you're using, is it calculates basically for each beam of light where it bounces and hits. So the problem is that when you have something, and I didn't know this when I started making this little model, making this little image, is that your computer basically you have to process, it has to process each beam of light separately, right? And if you have a beam of light that, like if it's like a two-part path, so it like comes out of the light source, hits a reflective surface, and then comes into the camera, pretty simple. If it comes out of the light source, hits one surface, then hits another surface, and then into the camera, it's a little more complicated. What I drew has there's like a gem in the middle, so it's clear, so there's refractive caustics happening, which is what I guess what they call, and I could be totally wrong on that, but that's what they call when you have that kind of reflection or refraction, or when you have these extra light beams. And then you also have the reflective caustics, and then it's kind of surrounded by these mirrors. So, plus there's like three different light sources. There's like one from the bottom, one from behind the camera, and then one from, there's like one's coming from outside. Really cool. I kind of wish I could see it rendered at like incredible quality. Or, I don't know, someone who knows what they're doing to show me how these caustics are supposed to work. I looked up some tutorials, and basically it seems like the big issue I'm having is with reflective surfaces, because reflective surfaces or glossy surfaces, the way that they reflect light is really an intensive process, and apparently the way that the diffusive surfaces reflect light is different. So I don't know. I think there are ways that I can play around with it to get it to work better, but right now it's just a grainy mess. and even at incredibly high samples, which means that my computer does a ton of passes on each little section to like render each of the light beams, it still is just it's taking way too long. It took like 4 hours to render like half the image, and then I look at it and it's all grainy and terrible. Anyway, maybe I'll post a link to that image in this vlog today. Okay, so part 2. I'm gonna keep these scattered. I feel like I could really focus them and like try and capture search results, which would probably be a good idea, but maybe that's better. Maybe smaller, shorter pieces is better. That way I could like release this one day and then the next part the other, but I'm gonna keep going. That's probably a smarter idea.